Gonzaga Nation SI, the Gonzaga Nation Media Network, back in studio together. Adam Morrison and myself, Dan Dickau. It's been a while since our schedules have aligned. We've been on Zoom, which is fun and fine and all good, but it is nice to kind of chat in person, both what's happened with Gonzaga basketball, what's about to occur, and then just some overall thoughts. So nice to see you again, Mo.
Yeah, it's good seeing you, and it's easier in person. There's no delay or anything like that with Zoom. I can gleam into your eyes and understand if you really enjoy my take or not. So, yeah, this will be fun.
Yeah, gleam into your eyes. That's one I haven't heard in a while. So
save it for you.
Oh well, appreciate that. So you've had a chance to see the team up close, as have I. There's been kind of a transformation these last few weeks from what I've seen. I've watched games in person. I've watched games on TV. I've called them. I've watched them as a fan. You've done the same thing because you haven't been at all the games with your radio stuff. Big picture stuff. What are you seeing with this group right now?
I think the biggest thing that I've noticed is kind of the resilience of the crew compared to the start of the season. Obviously, the turnovers and things like that have been remedied. So like that part of the game. But I think, if you look at the BYU game, you look at the San Francisco or the Bay Area weekend, there were stretches where at the start of the year, I don't think they would have came back from like a 12-point deficit early, or they would have made just like consistent fundamental plays to get back in the game. There would have been more hero ball. So I think our guys are starting to understand that, overall, especially in conference, they are better as a group than anybody in this league. And if they just stick to the game plan, teams are going to make their run. Eventually, it'll regress to the mean or whatever. So I'm just really pleased with how they've won these last 4, but those 3 on the road, because they won in different ways. Drew Timme played terrible against San Francisco, win with perimeter play. And then we go to Santa Clara, perimeter play dominates again with Nolan Hickman, but Drew gets back on track. And then if you go to BYU game, which obviously we'll discuss in length, perimeter guys make big-time shots, but they didn't really play good.
Yeah.
And the inside guys play good. So different ways to win is obviously a positive. So it's been nice to watch kind of that come into fold.
Yeah, I've been so impressed with different guys stepping up and making plays, as you mentioned. I think that's the calling card of growth for Nolan Hickman, Julian Strother, and we knew Rozier was experienced, and we knew he could be that guy, but he's been up and down this year. But that big play at San Francisco, I think Hunter Salas at BYU, he didn't necessarily score it, but he hit a big corner 3. The fact that I think it was Hickman made the play in the pick and roll up top when Salas as a defender rotated, probably
they were trying
too early.
Yeah, well, they were trying to take away Drew. So he was kind of digging without the ball. So, and analytically, and this is nothing against Hunter Silas, but that you give up that shot in that spot. And it was great that he knocked it down. Great moment for that kid. So, it was cool to see those guys kind of, be in a hole as far as playing a good game against BYU, and they've all made big-time shots.
Yeah, I thought that 3 was for him because his jumper looks better, but he hasn't had enough sample size to truly, I think, believe in it.
Well, he's only made 5 on the year. I think that was his 6th. But he doesn't take very many. Maybe he takes, if you probably look at it, he probably takes like 0.7 a game.
You know what I'm saying? He's a great example of buying into your role and not trying to do too much. Because he's come in with such high expectations. He's been on NBA draft boards, and he doesn't force the issue, which I think a lot of guys would.
Yeah.
And that's harder to do than I think most people understand.
Yeah, especially at a program like this where, all the recruits now think an NBA, no matter what, so that wasn't the case when we were coming in. Obviously you had in the back of your mind, but you didn't really, what I'm saying? You weren't on a big AU team and blah, blah, blah. So, a kid like him has done a good job of this year of, like you said, growing in his role. Biggest question, we'll do it at the end of the season, is if Julian stays, Malachi stays, like where does he fit in, Hunter, as far as playing time? Because he's earned, I think, starter minutes.
Yeah, I would agree.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Staying on the topic really quick before we talk BYU in the UP game, you mentioned like high-level recruits. Gonzaga had a high-level recruit, another 5-star guy on campus. I guess they chanted his name the other day. The Kennel Club did. That's a whole lot different than the world that we came up in with recruiting. When I was being recruited, I had a final few schools. I would always go to University of Portland, UW games.
Yeah.
Nobody even knew or cared that I was there watching games, whether it was an official or unofficial visit. And I don't remember the Kennel chanting any players, recruits' names when I was playing. How about you?
I totally agree. I don't think it's different now with social media, obviously, so it's easier to understand who's here and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I don't remember anybody getting really excited about our recruits when we were coming in. Nobody even knew who I was. Half the people didn't. I was from here.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But yeah, I haven't even seen that kid. What was his name?
Zoom Diallo. I saw him play. They played my son's high school team, and he's good. He had 30 when I watched him against them, and it was like it was an easy 30. Not easy in the regards that our guys didn't make him work for it, but it was
looked after this.
He didn't look like he was forcing the issue. Yeah. He got by guys. He made plays. He took the right shots.
Where's he from?
Curtis, high school over in the Tacoma area.
Oh, cool.
Good high school coach. That's the same high school Devontae Lacey played at Washington State. Isaiah Thomas, who's played in the NBA for a long time. So I think he's got a good chance.
Yeah, sweet.
So there was one player that when I was at GU that Coach Few missed out on as a recruit, and I think Coach Few wished he had him, and that would have been Luke Ridenour.
Yeah.
And if Luke Ridenour came, it would have been myself, Luke Ridenour, and Blake Stepp, kind of as a three-headed point guard triumvirate. Would have been pretty dang fun.
Yeah.
It would have limited all of our numbers, but it would have been fun. Was there a guy that you remember Gonzaga recruiting that you would have been like, that would have been fun to play with him?
Actually, it was funny. It was Jordan Farmar. I hosted him on our visit, me and Sean Mallon, and he was a younger kid for his class, so he wasn't interested in like alcohol or anything, and we were.
And you were.
And so we had a good time. It was weird because later in life, obviously the UCLA game, and then he becomes my teammate and on the Lakers. So it was just like small world stuff.
Yeah. That's funny because I remember around that time Gonzaga was recruiting him, and I talked to him on the phone a number of times.
No, he told me, and I think he was being realistic. He's like, I wanted to go to Gonzaga, but the business decision was go to UCLA.
Sure, an LA kid.
Yeah,
if you're being recruited by UCLA, it's hard.
Yeah, that's why he was like, I couldn't really do it. But he's like, the style of play. He's like, I wish I was away from the LA stuff.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But anyway, it's kind of interesting when a guy says that. He was just like, I would have loved to come up there. But it's the same thing. I'm like, well, shit, I probably wouldn't have got the ball passed to me half the time.
Yeah. And you go from averaging, 25 to 21.
Yeah.
It would have been, you just still scored.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's go BYU game. You were there. I watched it on TV. What were your impressions? Because I thought struggles early and then resilient late made plays.
Well, first half we were fine. I mean, we ended up being a 5-point lead, but it was, the play of our inside guys. It was Anton Watson started 6 of 6, had 14 points in the first half. Ben Gregg had 8 off the bench. Drew was his normal self. I don't remember his numbers of the first half, but it wasn't, like the San Francisco game where he's struggling. I think he was 8 points, 10 points, but probably like 5 of 7. You know what I mean? Just simple. Perimeter guys couldn't get anything going. I was really impressed with BYU from the standpoint, considering what they've been in the past, and this is not a knock, but they, we're holding teams to like 67 a night. That's totally different.
Yeah.
+9 on the glass as an average. So it was like kind of seeing a different style. I think they're preparing themselves for Big 12 eventually. So they're kind of like, hey man, we have to play defense and try to rebound in this league or we're going to get killed. So that was interesting to watch. Like I said, 5-point lead. And then BYU did an excellent job in the second half of making threes. I mean, they ended up being 13 to 24 from downtown. And that is to be expected with role players. The Jackson kid or whatever his name is had a good game. Gideon George had a good game from the outside. So, when role players are at home, they get going. So when they made their lead to, about 10 with halfway through the first half. I wasn't shocked, but it was one of those where this can teeter to where they can go up 15 and we're probably out of it because the crowd was into it and they were knocking down threes. So yeah, when we get to about the 5-minute mark, we were still down 10. It was a really nice, show of keeps on wood or whatever, and our guys just started making plays down the stretch. It was kind of interesting too, having 4 team fouls instead of 7 right away. Actually made a bigger difference late in the game to get those steals.
I saw that. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And sometimes it's, you always say go for the steal, but this was like, dude, you can hold a guy, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And we got a couple turnovers off of that, and I was just really shocked on how kind of nervous BYU was in that situation. Yeah. Obviously, our guys made big-time shots. Hunter Silas, he talked about the corner 3. Nolan Hickman was 0 for 4 at the time, makes that the only make of the night is that top of the key 3 to get us down 1 again. And then Julian's, obviously, he was 3 for 11 at the time, goes 4 for 12, but another big shot. So, like, what I'm getting at is our perimeter guys didn't play great at all. Anton goes 18, Drew goes 19, Ben Gray goes 10 off the bench. Inside guys were great. Rashir's 0 for 7.
Yeah.
Nolan's 1 for 5. Hunter was 2 for 3, but, and then I mentioned the 3 for 11. So I was really proud of those guys making those plays down the stretch. And then so it basically became like one of the best total team wins we've had, and is the last time we'll ever play in that godforsaken place.
Yeah. Well, I do think they're going to re-up the series.
No, they won't.
You don't think so?
I don't think
you think that's all just media talk and fluff kind of?
I could see him do it at neutral. Yep. Like, all right, let's play at Utah or something, or at the Jazz, where the Jazz play.
Sure.
And then you come up here. But I just don't.
Spokane Arena.
Yeah. I just don't see the value for us on the backside for that.
Well, I see the value in, if BYU's in the Big 12, it's a chance to pick off a power conference win.
Yeah, it's true.
But I do agree with the point of going into that building, not having to. That's a good point. Because you kind of beat me to talking a lot of the Big 12 stuff that I want to get to, so we can kind of, move past that. But I think one of the things that I saw on social media, and I would love your reaction if you saw it, the student section started coming down the aisles towards the end of the game, and then they had to just stop and turn around. Yeah. Did you notice it? Was it hilarious?
They were ready to storm. They stormed. I was there when they beat us on their senior night, whatever, 3 years ago or whatever that was, and they stormed. And so I was like, fuck, I don't want to do this again, man. Because they were nice kids, but they're like standing right next to you and yelling, and you're trying to do a broadcast, like post-game show, and they just stay on the court, so it's hard. Yeah. And it's awkward because they're like literally right next to you.
They're staring. Hey, that's Adam Morrison. Yeah, they want to yell at you.
Yeah, exactly. It's just awkward. So I was like, man, I don't want to deal with this. Yeah. And so it was funny, and then it was just funny that we, last time we ever played them, there we like steal one.
Yeah.
And so it was cool.
Well, it's kind of that mantra, big time programs / big time players make big time plays in big moments. So great stuff there. UP, we don't need to go over much of it. To me, it was a tremendous effort by everybody. Like, it was over in the first 8 minutes, right?
It was, yeah. I just don't understand last year we made 18 threes at home against them. This year we made 17. I don't understand the defensive strategy that Shante Liggins is doing. I mean, did you watch the game? Did you see it?
Yeah, I watched it, but I mean, it wasn't like glued to my TV because of everything that, it was over early.
Yeah. Well, my point is, like, half of our 3-point attempts, and we're rolling, we're like uncontested or like late. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, it's 2 years in a row where it's like, we're just going to pack the paint. And I'm like, I don't know how that would. Yeah. And we were just shooting like workout shots.
Well, I mean, you're right. Workout shots are one thing versus close out or chase guys off the line. Because with the dribble handoff stuff, stuff's going to get presented. But yeah, they were open shots from what I saw.
Yeah. So anyway, it was interesting to see that, defensive strategy being used. And look, that club's gotten better. Had a bad stretch. They lost 5 in a row after that good PK 80. But again, I was just perplexed. I'm like, why would you just dare us again in our own building? It's just whack. I mean, we had, I think, 11 threes in the first half. So anyway.
Last question before we wrap this episode is Nolan Hickman, he's kind of been up and down with his shooting. He hit the big three at Santa Clara. He had a really good game at Santa Clara when he hit that game winner. But he came to Shoot 360 Spokane yesterday in the morning and got up a bunch of shots. And so it shows you that guys get out of their comfort zone and put in extra work during the season. What was your routine to get extra work during the season, whether you were playing really well or whether you were struggling?
I would just go before or after practice, just like everybody else. Nothing special. I wasn't, I need to get to the gym at 6 a.m. I wasn't one of those guys. It's fine if you are, but I just would go after practice or before.
Did you have a routine, like a certain amount of shots or angle or type of shots you would get?
Yeah, I mean, if I was really struggling, there's a drill that I used to do where you pick it up off the floor and it kind of brings everything back to center. But nothing crazy, to be honest.
You're natural.
No, it's
you could say it. You were a natural.
No, I mean, like you were more of like a gym rat guy, so this question is more for you.
Yeah.
Like I just played. You were more like a technical.
Yeah, there was certain things that I did, like literally every time I walked into a gym. And some of it was things I had done since like 7th, 8th grade. Some of it was things I picked up along the way. You know, when I was in college, John Stockton was a huge influence as far as routine. Every time you go to the gym, these are like the 4 core workout or drills that he did. And that became a constant the rest of my career and what I did. I think the biggest thing is whether you're a drill guy, gym rat, or if you're a feel guy, it's just having the ball in your hands enough throughout the course of the season. Because in a practice, you might get 20 shots if you're a quote role player. If you're a kind of focal point like you or I would have been in a practice where they're trying to get you ready for different looks defensively, you might get 40 before drill work happens. So it's a matter of figuring out how to keep the ball in your hands enough during the season.
Yeah, no, I agree. You got to, you always have to rep and go through your deal. And so if Nolan needs to shoot extra shots, obviously, I think his shot looks great.
It's been better. It looks consistent.
He had a good game against Santa Clara, and like you said, and so I don't know, but I think he's going to be fine shooting the basketball.
Well, there you have it. Gonzaga Nation SI with Adam Morrison, myself, Dan Dickau. We'll be back soon previewing the LMU and Pacific games.